In this video, I'm going to be looking at the evaluation of ADR, and this includes advantages and disadvantages of negotiation, conciliation, mediation, and arbitration. First of all, I'm going to go through negotiation. So, first of all, looking at the advantages. One of them is that it can be straightforward contact between the parties. It's also low or no cost, as there's no need for lawyers. The parties are in control, and the relationship between the parties can be preserved. And then moving on to disadvantages. One party may not be prepared to negotiate, or could even be hostile. Either party may believe that they are right and not be prepared to settle, and the dispute may end up in court anyway. Moving on to conciliation. Starting with advantages, it's cheaper than a court case. The parties have some control in choosing how they proceed. The relationship between the parties is preserved, and that it's more evaluative than mediation. It can also be confidential and discreet. Moving on to disadvantages, a resolution may not be reached. It's also time consuming for both parties, and the result isn't binding, so the parties may not agree to follow through. Moving on to mediation, it's cheaper than a court case. The parties have control over the process, the relationship between the parties is preserved, and it could improve communication. However, one party may be unwilling to take part, there's no guarantee of reaching a resolution, the result isn't binding, it's time consuming for the parties, and family mediation may favour a dominant party. And then finally, moving on to arbitration, it's cheaper than a court case. An arbitrator is qualified and experienced in the area they're discussing. The arbitrator's decision is binding and can be legally enforced, and it's flexible as the parties have some control over some aspects of the arbitration. However, it can destroy the business relationship. The process can be formal and complicated, it's likely more expensive than other forms of ADR, it's not suitable for complex points of law, and you can't appeal if unhappy. There can also be delays in wait time. As you can see, there's a lot of crossover between the advantages and disadvantages of all these forms of ADR. You might get a question on the individual one, or it could be a question in general on the advantages or disadvantages of ADR. Here's what a question might look like on this topic. And it's important to remember, as this is a 12 marker and not an 8 marker, you have to go into more detail when explaining the advantages and disadvantages. It's not good enough to just say an advantage or just a disadvantage, you've got to explain why in relation to the form of ADR. Hopefully this video is helpful. Have a nice day.